Okay, so you got your T-Probe kit. The first thing to do is take it out of the box. Once you've removed, the first big box inside of this master pack is the docking station. Set that off to the side. You'll also find inside the kit sticker sheets that we'll need later and the manual. Definitely recommend reading the manual. It's very informative. And then you should have 4 T-Probe boxes like this. And inside of each T-Probe box, there's actually this handy quick start guide. So be sure to refer to that if you have any questions on getting your system set up. Okay, so now that we've got everything out of the box, the first thing that we want to do is set up our docking station. The docking station is very simple. It has one port on the side that's an Ethernet port. It gets both its data and its power from the same port. In order to do that, to not have 2 separate cords, you need to have a PoE port, Ethernet port, that you're hooking up to this unit. If you don't have a PoE port, you can also use a PoE injector. You can get them from Amazon for 20 bucks. But what you're going to want to see is that when you plug in the Ethernet, that you get both lights lighting and flashing. It'll take a couple of seconds for it to boot up, but if you have both lights flashing, then you should have PoE. The next step on setting up the docking station is getting logged in. So there's a sticker taped to the bottom of the inside of the docking station that has your login instructions. It's got a username and a password, and you're going to go to the website that we offer called qfmonitoring.com, and you're going to use those sign-in credentials. Once you get signed in, then you can change your username, you can change your password, but we'll know who you are when you use that original login.
Okay, after powering on the docking station, you'll want to log into qfmonitoring.com. So I'm just going to paste the link here. And it's that sticker that can be found on the back of the docking station for the login credentials. You'll see a screen similar to this one. Now it's not going to have the data on it, but after we get everything set up, it should. So first you're going to want to navigate over to the gear icon in the lower left-hand corner. This is the setting button for the docking station. So you can change dock settings here. From here, you'll be able to change Wi-Fi settings, add notifications to each T-Probe that is tied to that docking station, enter your target temperature for your products, and even give that specific dock a nickname. So I'll just put in our Wi-Fi information at our shop here, add in my phone number for notifications. Now you can have up to 5 different phone numbers here, you just have to separate them with a comma. This dock is actually in Bob's office, and we'll just change the target temp to 9. So you have to make sure you update and save each of those. And now your docking station settings are set up here. I'd recommend filling in all of the information and leaving the delays section as is. That's this area up here. Once you get more familiar with how you're collecting data with your T-Probes, you can feel free to change that, but 15 is a good starting point. So you're going to want to navigate back to the Home tab, either by the back button on the browser, if you have a back button on your mouse, or you can just simply click the Home button here. Good check here is to click into this specific T-Probe. So there's a red button right up here, and now you can see under the Notifications tab, my phone number is grayed out and will be a recipient of a text message when the product has reached its goal temp. So the docking station should be set up now.
Now that we've set up our docking station, charged our T-Probes, it's time to set up the T-Probes. So in order to identify the T-Probes, there's a couple different ways. One is there's a unique QR code that's specific to this T-Probe so that you can scan it from your phone and you can see the live data that this T-Probe is broadcasting once it's set up. The other way is there's another tiny QR code, that has the MAC address of the unit. This is a unique identifier that's unique to just this T-probe. This is a great way to identify your T-probe, but it can get kind of confusing when you have all these letters and numbers to identify your different probes. So we've included this sticker sheet that has nicknames that make it easy to identify which probes you're looking at when you're on the dashboard or when you go out into the freezer to grab one of these T-probes. So you select one that you like. I'm gonna go with Iceman, and you peel off the sticker from there and put it right between the button and that T-probe logo, and it'll stay on there forever. Once we have that sticker on here, we're gonna need to correlate that data. So this MAC address that's under here, we're gonna tie that to what we have here, and I'll show you how to do that in the software. In the meantime, we want to assign this T-probe to this docking station. This is really important when you have more than one docking station, so that they don't get confused as to which docking station they're trying to communicate with. So in order to scan it, there's a QR code, this large QR code that's on the front of your docking station. This identifies the docking station. So we're going to tie these two together so that they don't try to talk to other docking stations. So in order to do that, I push and I hold the red button on top of the T-probe, and I point that camera at the QR code. And it can be very quick, but if I push and hold, I'll get a light with a red line. And if I point that at the QR code, I get a quick blue flash on top of the T-probe. And once it's done that, it has joined the T-probe to the docking station, so that when you look on your dashboard, this T-probe will now show up on your dashboard. When you first set up your docking station, there's no T-probes assigned, but as soon as you do this, it'll appear on your dashboard.
Okay, so in the video, Bob showed placing the nickname sticker on top of the T-probe, and I'm going to show you how to tie it on QF monitoring. So he placed the sticker on in the upper right hand corner here on the T-probe. We're going to find that specific T-probe. So that sticker that Bob was showing on the back of the T-probe on the back side of this also is displayed under probe SN, or the probe serial number. So you'll want to match that up. So this one ends in 08DC. And right now it's nicknamed Shiver. I had previously nicknamed it that. Change it to Iceman. Update the attribute here. And now you can see that this probe's nickname is Iceman. So you're going to want to do that for your other 4 correlating probes. That will make it easier to manage in the future.
Okay, now that we have our docking station set up, our T-probes tied to our docking station, and our T-probes are all 100% charged and ready to go, it's time to freeze. Now there's a couple different ways that you can place the probes, but we'll get to that in a second. That's why we have some product just sitting here, or maybe it's cased product, and there's different ways that you can approach these. The way that the T-probe is designed is to be as simple as possible, as few buttons as possible. So we've done that by having only one button. So in order to start a freeze test, the first step is to remove the T-probe from the docking station. That kicks off a timer that is for 15 minutes. It's going to ignore the temperatures that it's collecting. So it's collecting product temperature here, down here in the probe, and there's an air temp sensor just under where we nicknamed the T-probe, and the first 15 minutes get thrown out. That gives us enough time to walk out onto the dock, scan our product into the T-probe system, and place that probe into the product. When using the scanner, there's 2 different ways that you can collect the product data. One is by simply scanning a barcode. And you'll see there, my barcode light lights up, and then I get a blue light that flashes saying, hey, I've seen a barcode, I've collected that data. Now doing it like that, it's uncategorized data. So you might have 3 different types of barcodes that you scan for each pallet that you want to collect this data on. and it might be the SKU of the product, it might be the receipt ID, it might be a lot code. There's different things that you might collect. So if you don't want to confuse the data, because the uncategorized, you just simply scan it. So I can just scan this barcode. So now I've collected 2 different points of data, but the system doesn't know that I've scanned the UPC on this chicken or the SKU on this beef. If you want to categorize your data, we have a thing called prefix scans. And you can find prefix scans in the manual. I've got the SKU prefix scan printed out so that I can quickly use that. So in order to tell the T-Probe that we're looking at an SKU, I scan the prefix scan, get that blue light, then I press and hold again, and I scan my SKU. Now it has paired that data and data key together, and it'll show up in the right column on your dashboard. So now we've scanned our product and we want to place our probe. To get the most accurate scientific results, you really need to have the end of the probe in the center mass of your product. And you want, when you're freezing a pallet, you want to have that in the centermost case, front to back, side to side, up and down, because that's generally the slowest to freeze. When, like if I were to place the probe in this chicken, I would want to pierce here right in the center mass and leave it like this so that I have it in the center mass of the product and it's the slowest part to freeze. That'll give me a really good freeze curve. When doing case product, now this will damage the chicken and we have to get rid of it, but it's it's a good example of all the other cases that you might have frozen at the same time. When freezing boxed product, I like to pierce the corner of the box so it does very little damage to the box and it does very little damage to the product inside. And if it's a bulk product that's inside, then it shouldn't do any damage and you shouldn't have to damage out the case. You want to check and make sure that that's in line with your HACCP procedures and all of your other treatment of the food, but that's pretty common practice. So once you feel the probe has entered the product, you're done. The pallet can be put away in the freezer or the case can be put in the freezer, whatever you're doing. If it's ready to freeze, go ahead and freeze it. In the meantime, it does a couple of different things. So it basically goes dormant to preserve as much battery life. The T-probes are good for up to 3 weeks in the freezer. But every 5 minutes, it'll wake itself up, record the air temperature and the product temperature, and then shut itself back down. Then once an hour, it's going to wake itself up, publish all of those temperature readings that it's collected to the cloud so that you can see them on the dashboard. So when you're looking at the data on the dashboard, it's not live, but it's sometime within the last hour, that's the most recent data that you're seeing. Once our product has finished freezing, it's going to change the LED on here. So right now the LED is off because it hasn't frozen yet. If it were to freeze, this is going to change from no light to what we call beacon. So it's going to flash twice. And with that beacon activated, you can see from down the aisle that pallet is ready to go. And in order to remove the probe, a lot of times with these other probes, it's really, really hard to get the probe back out of the product because it's frozen and it's really got a good grip on it. But with this, we have what we call extraction mode. Extraction mode warms the probe to -2 Celsius so that it doesn't do any damage to the product, but it makes it so that you can get the probe out. To activate extraction, you just push the button one time and you'll see the LED start to, we call it a sawtooth pattern, so it starts low and it goes high. Then it goes back down, low to high. And it does it very slowly at first, but as it approaches that -2 Celsius, it'll start to go more rapid, and then it'll go back into beacon. So you'll see that beacon flash. When that happens, it can take up to 30 seconds, but when that happens, you simply twist and then pull, and it'll come right out. The final step of the freeze cycle, we're almost done, is to sanitize. So make sure that you get with your food safety, HACCP, whoever is in charge of this type of stuff, make sure that you're doing it in line with your regulations at your facility. Sanitize the T-probe. In addition, I would wipe the rest of the T-probe down. These are not waterproof, they're not dishwasher safe, so sanitize them. And be sure to clean the magnet as well. That can attract metal dust. If you have a facility with any kind of metal dust in the air, it can attract that with the static. And then you drop it back down on your docking station, get that blue light, and the cycle is complete. What's cool about this is then it saves the data from that one freeze cycle and it puts it into what we call the automatic blast log. So the data starts 15 minutes after you pull the probe from the docking station, gives you time to scan your codes, get it inserted into the product, and the cycle ends when you put it back on the docking station. Now it'll record when it hit your target temperature, which is adjustable. Out of the box it's set to -18 Celsius or 0 Fahrenheit, but you can set that to whatever your target temperature is. And when you go look at that blast log, it'll say, you know, exactly how long it took, at what temperature, air, and when it occurred. And then there's a button at the end of the row where you can see the graph. So it does all of this automatically, and it makes tracking your blast activities very, very simple.
Alrighty. In this video I wanted to demonstrate extraction mode. This chicken has now been frozen. It should have reached gold temp. I can drag around the chicken with the frozen T-probe here. And to enter into the extraction mode, let me get that kind of angled at the camera for you. Get that, click the button one time. And now you will see the LED up at the top here breathing. And it's doing that sawtooth pattern for you to let you know it's working on warming the tip of the probe to then make it a little bit easier to get the probe out. And can sing a song or something, but once that reaches temperature, I think they say about 30 seconds, then we'll be able to twist the handle and extract the T-probe. Looks like it's starting to get faster and faster. That's a good sign. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little twist. Twist it, and then it pulls straight out. Now again, remember you're going to want to grab your sanitation cloth. Get it nice and sanitized there. Again, these are not dishwasher safe. We do not submerge these at all, but the sanitation cloths work great. So I just did the extraction beacon. Now again, the last thing you need to do is put it back on the docking station, and that's when it's going to upload your blast log or your test report, however you guys want to look at it. But get it back on there, make sure that it's charging, and we are good to go. Okay, so I just demonstrated extraction mode on the T-probe by doing the single click, and it did the sawtooth warming of the tip of that probe so you can break it free from the grip of the frozen product. Once you place the T-probe back on the docking station after sanitizing, of course, it's going to upload all of its data into a easy to read report and or blast log for your review. So I did the report on Shiver. That is the T-probe I did the extraction mode on. And if you scroll down, here are all of the reports that we've done, kind of just in Bob's office, if you will. So we have 13 different ones. I started this test on 7/29, and then I just did the extraction mode 12/25 today. So it ran for 44.3 hours. I gave it a prefix SKU scan, and it was just of that chicken that I went and bought from Meijer. And to view the report, you come over here on this right hand side and there's this button here that says show report. So we're going to go ahead and click into that. And it gives you more of a detailed representation of the air temp of your room here in the green, and the product temp in the blue, so you can see it. Product temp quickly went to 29, 30 degrees, tapered off there for a while before making its dive down to 0. Before I had the target temp set at 40. I've since changed it to 10, but that's neither here nor there. Again, it's a good view of all of your data that you're collecting throughout the process. It's going to stop the cycle once you place the T-probe back on the dock, so that was 44.3 hours. If you notice a spike in your room temp around, I don't know, let's say 4 a.m. one day, and you wanted to zoom in on that figure, you can click and drag, and it's going to zoom in right there for you. If you wanted to go back to the window of the time period of the test, you just double click in that graph, and it goes back to the data from that test. You've got your mins, your maximum, and your average product and air temp down here. If you have a customer that's requesting this data from a specific day, you can go back to your blast log graph on the previous screen to pick your day, and then the data that they're asking for, you can come up here and say export widget data. I always like picking the Excel format. There's CSV, XLS. This bottom one here, for those that use Excel, is the best one. So you can actually export this. Cycle temperature chart. You can rename it in your file explorer, but we can go ahead and open this up, and you can see it has timestamps from when the T-probe was reporting data. And you can see right at the beginning, it's on the dock, it's checking every minute, and then down here 40, 45, 50. It collects those temperatures every 5 minutes. After that 15-minute period time window is up from pulling it off of the dock, it's going to collect the data every 5 minutes, but then upload it to the server every hour. So you will still see every 5 minutes data collection, and it will populate those air temperatures for you. So that is what this looks like on your blast log. Again, to get home, click your home button, and you've got all of your blast logs here, corresponding nicknames with the T-probe, and that should be a good overview.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit of maintenance and troubleshooting. Really the only issue you might encounter with the docking station is that you might get some debris, especially metal debris, because this is a magnetic connection. And so just take a sanitizing towel and wipe that cleanly. Get any of those metal shavings or anything like that that might have been introduced to that magnet off of there, and then do the same thing on your T-probe. Wipe that clean. Fine metal dust or metal chips can get in there and interfere with the operation of the unit. If you have a T-probe that is unresponsive, it might be a problem with the charging, or it's locked up. And there is a way, if it's locked up, to reboot it. In order to reboot, you want to put the T-probe on the docking station, and you push and hold the red button while it's on the docking station, and the blue light should turn off. It takes about 30 seconds, and we'll just wait for that to happen. Once the light goes out, you just release the button. It acknowledges as it's rebooting, and you give it a few minutes and it should be good to go.